Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch, and thank you for all the new listeners. There's a bunch of new subscribers in the last couple of days, and there is a channel that has been part of the reason for that. A lady with her channel, I don't know anything about her other than her name is Sutton's Days, and at least that's the channel name. She talks about prepping from a food standpoint of storing up food, preserving food, ways to save money when you're buying food storage, things like that. I'll leave a link to her channel below. She did the same for mine, and encourage you to go over there and check her out. I've watched some of her videos, and she puts out some really good information. So thank you very much for that. While you're at it, checking out her video in the description below, there are a lot of links down there, some information, ways to get in contact with me, other places that I'm on the internet. You can check me out there. And there's also a bunch of links to some really great businesses that I have partnered with. These companies provide some great quality products that you may need or use in your prepping journey. Everything from long-term food preps by My Patriot Supply to some really good qualities, survival type gear from the largest survival gear website on the internet, Survival Frog, plus several other links down there below that you can click on and check out some of their products. And I'd appreciate it if you're in the market for any of those things, of using those links. Also, while you're at it, go ahead and click that like button. My hands are dirty. I've been working in the stove. The subscribe button. And then when you do that, click on that little bell up there, the icon, and that way you can get notifications from YouTube every time that I post a video here on the channel, which is pretty often. All right. There's been something that for several years now that's kind of been a battle cry of many of us on YouTube and other places online, of encouraging people to get to a better location where your odds of survival are greatly increased. And usually that is away from a large urban area and more towards a rural area. And I say this in understanding that many of you, no matter how hard you try, it may be difficult for you to move yourself away from the big city areas and into the country. I understand that. So I'm not singling you out. I'm not saying that you're doing something bad or trying to play a guilt trip on you because you're still in the cities. But one of the things that I talk about often is that it's not as difficult as you think it is to just get out. Sometimes you just have to walk away. To give you an example, and this isn't anything about prepping. This is just how you can walk away from something. Years ago, I was friends with a guy that grew up in Chicago in the whole gang just atmosphere. He grew up in that. He was actually a member of the Crips in Chicago, had gang tattoos all over him, even had bullet wounds from when he'd been shot and stabbed and different things like that. Grew up in just a really awful environment, drugs and gang activity. And he told me, he said he just realized one day that he just has to get away from it. He had to just walk away. So he come up with enough money for a bus ticket, packed some of his belongings in a duffel bag. He said I had no clue where I was going to go. He said I literally bought a ticket that would get me the furthest away from Chicago that I could afford, and I jumped on a bus and I just completely started over. He ended up getting into college, graduating college, ended up going to med school. Had a pretty good story. The point is he grew up in a really awful environment, and he made the conscious decision that his life and his survival was much greater and much more important than the difficulties and the drastic inconveniences of staying where he was at and pulling away and moving. He knew that his life was worth more than that. That may be a drastic example, but that may be where some of you should start thinking about, or at least how some of you should start thinking, that what is going on in this world may be getting to the levels, I believe they are, I believe they have been for a while, may be getting to the point that you're willing to do nearly everything to get yourself and your family to a more safe location. And no place is completely safe, but you can certainly find places that are more safe. Come out of her, my people. Many of you know what I mean by that. Getting out of Babylon is another phrase that many of you are familiar with. I get this, it's the most popular thing that I get from people on emails and contacting me. It's trying, they either are trying to move away from where they're at, or they have done so, and they're telling me of their experience, that they have, pulled away from city life, or at least an area that they felt was just not safe for them. So it is something that is possible. I want to show you guys a video. I don't know if you've seen it. It's been out for a while. This is a video from the Pentagon. The Department of Defense, the Army actually made this video and have used it in training. A news agency was able to obtain it through a Freedom of Information Act request. So it wasn't something that they put out publicly. It wasn't like something top secret. It was just a training video that they used. Now I have edited it for time. It's about a 5-minute video, and I've cut it in half just because of time here on the channel, but I'll leave a link down below in the description where you can find the full video. And what this video is, it's basically, let me kind of set it up here. It's simply just a video talking about the future. 2030 is what they're talking about, what they predict by 2030. That's 9 years away. How the world will look. And they believe that the vast majority of the population, 60+% or more of the population, will live in large super cities, large urban environments. And in the full-length video, they talk about what they believe will be the problems. And while they do not specifically say martial law, they do allude to the fact that once this happens, that when we get to this point, that a form of martial law will be the only way to control it. Because, and a lot of you may not realize this, but martial law is not rule without law. Martial law is military control of the law, the military rule. And in the video, it talks about how the military, the army, must train and must prepare themselves for dealing with the citizenry, whether foreign or domestic, inside these large super cities that they predict will be popping up over the next decade. It's definitely something worth watching, and a little startling, I guess, but let's go ahead and play. It's about 2.5 minutes, so let's go ahead and get it going.
The future is urban. By 2030, urban areas are expected to grow by 1.4 billion, with that growth occurring almost entirely in the developing world. Cities will account for 60% of the world's population and 70% of the world's GDP. The urban environment will be the locus where drivers of instability will converge. It is the domain that by the year 2030, 60% of urban dwellers will be under the age of 18. The cities that grow the fastest will be the most challenged as resources become constrained and illicit networks fill the gap left by overextended and undercapitalized governments. The risk of natural disasters compounded by geography, climate changes, unregulated growth, and substandard infrastructure intersect to frustrate humanitarian relief. It is an environment of convergence hidden amongst the enormous scale and complexity of the megacity. These are the future breeding grounds, incubators, and launching pads for adversaries and hybrid threats. Linked globally, these are man-made labyrinths that provide refuge and movement across the vast sections of these cities where alternate forms of governance have taken control. The advice of doctrine, from Sun Tzu to current field manuals, has provided two fundamental options. Avoid the cities, or establish a cordon to either wait out the adversary, or drain the swamp of non-combatants and engage the remaining adversaries in high-intensity conflict within. Even our counterinsurgency doctrine, honed in the cities of Iraq and the mountains of Afghanistan, is inadequate to address the sheer scale of population in the future urban reality. From the streets of Aachen to the Citadel and Way, we have defeated adversaries who attempted to use urban terrain to their advantage. Urban conflict is written deep into the Army's histories. But in tomorrow's conflict, these megacities are orders of magnitude greater in complexity, and our current options do not meet strategic ends. Our future operations must allow us to rapidly return the city to the people. They will be too large and complex to isolate or cordon in their entirety. Yet our soldiers will have to operate within these ecosystems with minimal disruption and flow. Our current and past strategies can no longer hold. We are facing environments that the masters of war never foresaw. We are facing a threat that requires us to redefine doctrine and the force in radically new and different ways. The future Army will confront a highly sophisticated urban-centric threat that will require that urban operations become the core requirement for the future land force. The threat is clear. Our direction remains to be defined. The future is urban.
Like I said, the full video, there's a link down below that you can watch it. I just kind of cut it down because of the length of it for this video. Anyways, this is something that we should be aware of. Now, right now, what is happening? Because a lot of you might be saying, well, statistics are showing the opposite. Throughout this pandemic, what we have actually seen are people leaving the cities. There have been, since March, about 250,000 people leave the city of New York. There have been countless people over the last few years leaving big cities in California, leaving the entire state of California, people leaving Chicago. We're seeing this happen in large numbers. And a big number of those people that are leaving are people that are just financially able to do so. It's typically the more upper class, middle upper class to upper class that have the money to walk away, maybe even take a little loss on their home if they sell it, and they either already have property out in the country or they have purchased property out in the country, or at least out in the suburban areas. And because how we know that is the housing prices in the suburban areas are skyrocketing. You know, most every big city has your outskirts suburban areas, and then there's smaller towns within 30 to 40 minutes drive of the big cities. And those areas, the prices are exploding. And I've spoken to realtors personally that said that, you know, they're being bought up before, you know, I mean, like the day or two after they're posted online or they're posted for sale, people are purchasing them without even looking at the properties. They're just calling the realtor up and, you know, putting an offer down, signing papers, doing it all online, doing it all through the mail, putting, you know, down payments on it to hold it, because people are desperate to get out of the city because they see this. So in one way, you could say, well, that's very contradictory to what we just saw in that Department of Defense video. Well, what I predict is, if you listen, it says it's mostly young people. What they predict, a lot of poor people. So I think what we're going to see happen over the next 10 years or so, and maybe sooner, maybe later, is the people that are capable, the people that are smart, the people that are aware of it. The people that have the means are getting out now, and then you're going to see this increase of younger people, which we always have. A lot of these small towns out here in the country, where their populations have gone down over the years, it's usually the young people that are moving towards the bigger cities. They like the conveniences of it. You know, they like to live in a place where they can walk to a coffee shop and walk to you know, the little bar or the little donut shop, and they, you know, like having the much faster, higher speed internets. You know, out here, internet, good luck. You know, we use cellular internet and it's not really good. But in the cities, man, you can have blazing fast 5G networks. And so a lot of the younger people like that. They like the congregating together and the communities, the style of community that the big cities offer. And so I think we're going to see that happen more and more. And as it was mentioned in the video, the larger these metropolitan areas get, the more difficult it is to supply them with an already damaged supply system, where we're already seeing that right now. So the point of this video specifically is encouraging you to do everything you can to find yourself in the safest place that you can. I hate to tell people to do something or even to give that kind of advice, but I'm telling you, this is one of those, exceptions. You need to if you live in a large urban area, big metropolitan area, you need to get out of it. Things are changing rapidly. There is hardly a financial advisor right now on the internet, and I've spent the last day or so just kind of playing around, just looking. There's hardly any of them right now that aren't saying that a massive market crash, that a dollar crash is coming. There's hardly any of them that aren't saying that. They're all saying that it is happening, no matter where they find themselves on the political spectrum. They're all saying it. In fact, what they're saying is that they're actually shocked that the market and the dollar is still holding up right now, but they're saying that it cannot last much longer. 2 days ago, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, called for another Bretton Woods. Go look up Bretton Woods because I don't have the time in this video to talk about it, but basically it's something that started back in the 40s and the 50s, much like, say, a Bilderberg secret society type meeting, except it was to come together and work on the global economy. At that time, they were wanting a global currency, but it was not developed at that time. And now, and I reported on this back in the spring when this pandemic first started, that Bretton Woods was once again working on developing this global currency idea. Which is obviously what the World Economic Forum is doing. That's what I've been talking about. So this kind of stuff, it's happening. Over the next 3 months, which between now and 3 months or so is the inauguration, a lot of things are probably going to be happening. A lot of things already are happening in the American political world. And then this virus, basically the second wave is in full-blown, full-scale. Europe, nearly every country in Europe right now are showing daily case counts equal to or greater than what they were back in the spring. And this is regardless of what you think this pandemic is or not. The fact is that's what they're telling people. So it's going to be happening here soon also. There's a lot of things coming down the pike. If you are able at all to find yourself a more safe and stable place to live, which is generally not a large urban area, I suggest you do that, and do that quickly. You may not make the money that you want. You may not get the equity that you want. Right now, things are still really good on buying and selling a home. The dollar still exists. The interest rates are really low for people purchasing. They have tightened up the regulations and requirements to approve people for loans, but they're still happening. I believe that window of opportunity to get yourself to a place that is more secure is very narrow. And I know that right now you're probably thinking, this is scary, this is terrifying. The thought of moving my whole family out in the country, maybe you've never done it before, right before this happens. I get that. It's quite scary, and I can understand, because we moved, although we had experience and all this of living this way, but we moved this year to this place that we're at now. It's a better property and more suited for our survival. It's just a better property overall. So I understand that, but I'm telling you, the window of opportunity is I believe quickly closing on just about everything. Prices have gone up dramatically. The inflation is just skyrocketing. We are this year alone, the United States have spent 90% more money than they have taken in revenue. It's the odds of things collapsing soon, I think, are quite great, and it's not just my opinion saying that. So whatever you need to do to get yourself to a safer place, please do so. If you have any questions or anything like that, you're feel free to shoot me an email. I do try to respond as many as I can and give any advice that I can. And I am no expert. Remember that, I'm no expert, but I do try as best I can to help people out. Anyways, description below has all sorts of links about this video and things that you need to check out, so I encourage you to do so. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.